the wooden scarf.
Good
Sorry.
evening. And we are back for another episode of Celebrating a Woman. For those who doesn't know, we are trying to really do the impossible this month by celebrating women, but in their different phases in their different lives. And tonight, we have another incredible lady. Oh, die Engels raak op van haar mense. Ek het gevra, kan ek maar Engels praat? She said that she's fine. So tonight, we have Yulanda. She's going to talk about her journey with disability. And I think we're in for a little bit of discussion about also, do you mention disability? Don't you mention it? But before we get to that, we are going to welcome Yulanda, and she's going to tell us a little bit about who she is. So, hi Yolanda, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
I see you had to get the scarf.
Yes, I'm getting cold. I'm in the Platteland all, so our nights are quite cold.
Okay, yes, that's so understandable. So, Yolanda, who are you?
Right. Can I just say from the beginning, the term that we prefer to use is differently able, because we are
Okay,
able, but just in a different way. So, yeah, so the politically correct term, can I say, is differently able.
I will make a note.
Okay. Sorry, so what was the question?
I said, just give us a little bit of introduction about who you are.
Okay, right. So, as you can see, my name is Yulanda Gombard, and I am a 57-year-old mother of 5 sons. And yes, I did say five. I've been married to my husband, Leslie, for 33 years.
Okay.
And we are from the city, but we've been living in Riviersonderend for the past 4 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Die plek waar almal stop voor hulle huis na toe gaan.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You never pass it without stopping. And that is your
Yes, at the
resource.
Shell Garage. At the Shell
There we
Garage.
go. There we go. There we go.
Yes.
Okay. At least I don't feel so guilty tonight when you said 5 children. I was like, okay. Ons is in een WhatsApp group because I have 4 girls here, 5 boys. So ons is in een
Oh,
WhatsApp group.
okay. That's great.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Um, can we maybe start with your journey into disability? Is it something that you were born with, or did it happen at a later stage?
Now, it happened 15 years ago
Okay.
in 2000, actually in August. On Wednesday, it's going to be 6 years.
Okay.
On the 25th of August, 2005, I was involved in a traumatic bus accident. Some of you might be familiar with it. It was a school outing to the top of Table Mountain,
Mhm.
and I was a volunteer driver. My Our second eldest son was in grade 7 at the time at Denegier Primary School in Kraaifontein, and I volunteered to go to assist the teachers. And so off we went to the top of Table Mountain. There were 2 buses transported us, and we went up with a cable car. We had, as parents, there were a few parents, and we had a group of children to supervise. And so we were on top, and we had a wonderful time over there on top of the mountain. Came back down, and then got into the bus for our return journey home. Thing.
Mm.
And as we Nick Road, the bus that we were in, my son and I were in, with the others of course, was involved in an accident. I sat behind in the seat behind the driver,
Okay.
And when the bus came to a stop, both the driver and I were flung through the shattered window. And he died, and three learners died, and I sustained external spinal cord injury. And there were a few other injuries, serious injuries too. There were five of us. There were two of us, two of the parents, myself included. Three learners had serious injuries, and then there were minor injuries too. But of course, it was very traumatic for the for the young children, because I mean they were 12-year-olds and
Mm.
going through the sort of.
Mm.
And yeah, so since that time, I am a care user.
Okay. Okay. So, how was it for you to then adjust to this journey from being able to walk with your own feet and get around wherever you wanted to go to being in a wheelchair?
It was a major adjustment, as you can well imagine. Your life changes just like that,
Mm.
and you have to make the necessary changes in your head first of all, in your in the way you see life. It is a
Mm.
major adjustment,
Mm.
and I must tell you that at first it's quite difficult to get used to it, because you're going from being able-bodied, being able to work, to walk by yourself, being able to do things yourself. In my case, I was a stay-at-home mother, and I've got these five children, and I was very invested in their lives, and doing my own housework, helping the children with their homework, helping out at school. I used to love that. When the teachers needed help, then I
Mm.
would be there.
Mm.
And being a stay-at-home mother afforded me that opportunity to be able to just, go to the school and go and assist whenever they needed. And I loved it. So yes, it was a big adjustment, because a large part of my life was now no more. I could not do certain things that I can no longer do.
Mm. Is part of the adjustment now almost like, because as women we like, this has been the topic for all the women we've talked about, as almost where we kind of feel we need to do it all because that is what society has placed on us. And so already with that comes the guilt of if you need to give your children over to someone else, like they're gonna hulle gaan 'n handvol wees met ander mense, and you would rather
Mm.
do that. What part of that was that the same guilt for you?
Yes, it was. Especially, in fact, with helping the children, when it comes to helping them, helping out at the school. In
Hmm.
fact, this is how I landed up on this outing, because the teachers and parents to assist me, and my son immediately took up his hand and nominated me, because it's what his mother did over years. So that was a big thing. I felt very almost almost guilty. I wasn't guilty, but I felt very sad, because now I could no longer help out at my children's school, which was a big
Mm,
part of our lives, my being involved at their school.
mm,
So yes, that was a really big thing for me, and I kind of felt bad for them. I felt like I was not being as good a mother as I can be, because I can no longer do that part of it.
mm, mm, mm. Did it place any strain on relationships? If I'm talking about between you and your husband, friends, and all of these things.
Well, it places a big relationship, a big strain on the marital relationship, as you can well understand. Because you know what people have to understand is that it's not just me doing this differently able journey. It's us doing it as a family. It's seven of us doing this journey. We've
Mm,
seven of us have been doing this journey for the last 15 years.
mm,
And a big part of that is the marital relationship, the relationship that you have with your husband, and how that gets affected.
mm,
Because now, obviously, you do certain things for me. I couldn't, which I used to be able to do myself before. The marital relationship changes in many, many ways.
mm,
Um, and then also, he has to deal with like things that I go through, like mood swings that I have, or I'm just feeling I'm having an off day,
mm,
and I just don't feel like getting up today and doing
mm,
anything.
mm,
That I'm not saying that happens every day, obviously, but there are those
mm,
off days, and then he's got to just after that, he's got to deal with it, and make room for them. But the one good thing I can say is I've got a gem of a husband, and he never once made me feel like this is a burden for him,
mm,
or it's something that doesn't happen, or he holds something against me for having put me in the situation. That really, I've got a husband who just from the very beginning stepped up to the plate. He was just that
mm,
marital part of the marriage vows, which says for better or
mm,
for worse.
mm,
That my husband signed up for that because he just stepped up to the plate,
mm.
and I actually wouldn't be able to do this journey in the way that I am doing it if I did not have the husband that I do.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's amazing. It almost brings you to another topic where I think sometimes as women, because of what some men does, we almost tend to go as like the world is all like the world is female type of thing. And it's almost we actually had that same conversation with a group of young girls today, and they were like, "Yes, ma'am, we don't need men anymore." And we're like, "Yes, you do need them. You need them for a lot
Yes,
of things. You need them like,
yes.
especially if you want to become mothers, you need them for that."
Absolutely.
And so we we become almost like hardened to a way where we now almost feel in a way that we do not need men anymore because some of them has disappointed us. So I like the fact that you actually bring that up. That a lot of times our journeys as women need a man or needs men to to help us on this journey. Um, After your incident, do you need what needs to happen? Do you need to go besides obviously all the physical things? Is there a lot of like psychological things that you need to go through? Because I mean, there's a mind shift that needs to happen between able and differently abled now.
That is the very core of the entire journey, the psychological shift. Well, it's shifts on all levels of your person. So
Mm,
it's a psychological shift, it's a mental shift, an emotional shift, um, a spiritual shift too. Because now
mm,
your relationship with God is affected too. Because you're thinking that God, why did you allow this? I'm a child of yours, served you
mm,
all these years, and then
mm,
surely you could have prevented this from happening.
mm,
So all of that is part of the journey. The psychological shift especially is a big thing.
mm.
What I have to say is that after the after my stay in the hospital, at Grootersdorp Hospital, I was sent to the Western Cape Rehabilitation Center in Lenteveer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I
And
know where that
that
is.
is where you receive your physiotherapy, first of all, because your body has to get stronger. And then you also get occupational therapy. And occupational therapy helps you to lead as active a life as possible as a differently able person. So I was taught how to cook, how to do things for myself, etc.
Okay.
And yes, that helps a lot. And then of course, I spent 4 months. I was actually away from home for more than 4 months after the accident because I had to be rehabilitated first before being sent home. But a big thing about that is the psychological part, because even while in those months, look, those 4 months, you're still doing this big adjustment, in your head, your person, in your emotions.
Mm.
So it's very tricky because you're away from home and supposed to be you're obviously getting your physiotherapy and your occupational therapy. But at the same time, your psychological self is going through you like tumble dryer.
Mm.
And you have to process that as well. So there's a lot happening in those months after the accident. And the psychology of it all can really push you over the edge. The one good thing that I had a support system in my husband, of course, number one, but also in my circle of friends, friends, family, all came to our aid wherever they could. So that helps a lot. But at some point, you as the person involved, you have to work through the psychological issues. There is, well, we had a psychologist on staff. So if you did,
Mm.
if you need to have sessions, and she would be
Mm.
available. But I kind of, walked through it by myself because, as I said, my support system helped a lot. So I there was a time when I was angry and I was cross, like, I don't want anybody to come and visit me anymore because it was just about 2 months, into the
Mm.
process, and I didn't. I was just don't come near me because I, I'm just trying to deal with all of this.
Mm.
And then I went back to being my fearful self. But yeah, but the psychology of it is a very big factor.
Ye- ye- there was parts of you that said, okay, so the psychology and your support structure, but you chose to go through it. Just yesterday, I think we spoke about depression. Um, was that also part of it? Do a person that has gone through such a trauma, depression, is it a bit more severe than our normal depression?
Yes, it is. You know that I have a very jovial personality. I'm an effusive person. I've always been that way. Praat baie and laugh hard, and laugh. You can tell me any silly joke and I'll laugh my pop off. And so that's always been me. I've always been chatty and life of the party kind of thing.
Mm.
And so when this happened, at first I was told that Yulanda, I think because sometimes you look, we all respond differently. So I think in
Mm.
my case, I put it to one side.
Mm.
And because I didn't feel at the beginning, I didn't feel depressed. I didn't. I was. Well, I wasn't okay with everything what had happened, but I could handle it. And then 2 months into into the journey, that's when the depression. Because now I'm realizing that this is my life from here on in, and this is what I'm going to do on a daily basis. And
Yeah.
that's when the depression hits you like a wave, like a tidal wave.
Yeah.
And it's just darkness. And it was quiet for a year. I
Mm.
was cross God. I was like, I'm your child. I mean, I've been serving you all the years. My husband and
Mm.
I were married for many years. How could you do this to me? Huh? So there was that happening. And then I didn't want anybody to come and visit me because, first of all, I didn't want them to see me in the state that I was. And ik het nie lus gehad vir mense.
Mm.
I just don't want to be chatting and talking. So
Mm.
yes, the depression is a very, very real part of this.
The lady with breast cancer, I'm just trying to remember. She went almost when both of her breasts were removed, but it was one and then another. And that was also that almost a thing that kind of broke her when her breasts
Mm.
were removed. Was the issue for people coming to view you that you was it like an image thing that you now do not look anymore what as they remembered you?
Yes,
Oh,
that was part of it. Because
mm,
you don't feel fully human, first of
mm,
all, and you don't feel fully woman, you know, because
mm,
a big part of you can no longer function or function like it used to. So that was a very big part of it, yes. The fact that you don't feel like you did before. And like in my case, I mean, being a woman, I thought that how are people going to look at me now? I don't want them to pity me. People mustn't look at me, and pity me.
mm.
Um, so it does make a big impact on your how you see yourself, and that brings on.
Okay. It's I find it interesting. Like again, with her it was breast, and you would think, okay, breast cancer, it makes sense. Your breast is not there. That makes you a woman.
Mm.
But I also find it now very interesting that you're saying that a big part of me wasn't there anymore, which is your legs, I assume.
Yes,
And that made you feel like less than a woman. So
yes.
oftentimes we almost like categorize what parts, like you would think, okay, breast is not there or my face is not there. That kind of makes me
Mm.
that you don't look appealing anymore. But you would think, okay, legs is just so it also brings something new now to understand that you know every part of you really captures a woman. And I guess it comes in with the fact that you walk everywhere as a woman, as a mother. You're always walking and standing and going there and pitching there, and that part has been taken away from you almost.
Now that is a big thing that I had to deal with. The fact that my motherhood was affected in a very big way. Because now I could no longer do or do all that I could before my boys. And I love
Mm,
for them. I love to be available to them. That is why after our second child, I gave up my job. And I didn't even discuss it with my husband. I just
mm,
came one day and I said, I'm ending my resignation tomorrow. And he just
mm,
looked at me. It's your decision. Um, and that was it. I wrote my note. I wrote my letter that night, and I handed it in the link, and I worked out my 30 days notice.
mm.
And from that, I mean, obviously after my resignation, I had my last day at work. I was fully committed to being a mother, totally available for her children.
Mm,
So now this is now no longer possible, and that affected me in a big way. Because for me, it was more, it wasn't so much my woman, it was my motherhood was now changed. And
mm.
I struggled to come to terms with it.
Okay. How did you come to terms with that? What differently what had to click for you to come to terms with that?
Well, of course, at first I was, especially after I got home, while I was still at the rehabilitation center,
Mm,
um, I'm getting physical therapy and I'm getting stronger and I'm getting physical therapy, which shows me how to be in the kitchen, how to do stuff in the kitchen and do stuff for myself. So you've got this romanticized thing in your head, it's gonna be
mm,
okay, nothing's gonna
mm,
change, I'll still be able to do X, Y, Z.
mm,
But the rubber meets the road when you are discharged and you get home.
mm,
And that's you are then on a daily basis reminded what you can no longer do.
mm,
And that was a real tough time. Because now I have to rely on my children, I have to rely on my husband to get something from up in the cupboard or something low in the cupboard. I couldn't cook anymore without somebody being there with me in the kitchen because I need help on so many levels. So that was a big thing for me.
Yeah, I can see. We oftentimes think, okay, it's just your legs and there's no beauty, but there is other parts of you that makes, but is op dak maak
Mm,
that is not there anymore. And I mean,
mm,
how you said, so the accident happened. Your son, he was okay. He went home. You were in
yeah.
hospital for 4 months. Um, so there was obviously still trauma with him, and then you coming home. How did the kids deal with all of this?
It was difficult this week. Our youngest, we got five sons, and the eldest one, they were uh, 14, 12, 8, and 7. Our twins were 6 years old at the time.
Okay.
The twins are the youngest, so that's 7, and then the one older than them, 8, and then 12 and so now they have to help me. They have to do things for me. And so, yes, that's a big adjustment on them. And it was difficult for them also to, of course, in the beginning, they're very eager. Of course, they want to help as much as possible.
Mm, mm,
But it took a toll on them too, because I mean, they've got their homework to do. They want to go play outside. They want to go,
mm,
go visit friends and stuff like that. And then
mm,
at the same time, as the months wore on, I started dealing with my own emotional stuff,
mm,
and often they would witness me just breaking down crying or just
mm,
going to my room and just closing the door.
mm,
So that was a big thing. And we try to shield them, of course, as possible because you don't want to involve children. I mean, they don't have the capacity to process this in an adult way, obviously, in a
mm.
mature way. So we try to shield them as much as possible. But there were times when I just used to break down and cry, and then, they would witness it. But yet, what we found is that it actually made them stronger. Sometimes I would try and shield them from this, but it's actually that rawness, of the situation that actually
Mm.
helped them to grow up and, be mature about them.
It's something that I've also experienced because my mom went through a divorce. She found herself at the age of 40, and there was a lot of times in the beginning years that she
Mm.
almost, be- besides the guilt, she tried to almost keep this strong figure and mask
Yes.
on, and which almost then makes you as a child go like, this woman is fine, she can handle it.
Yes.
Until you see the other part of her, you
Mm.
realize this person is just human. And it kind of
Exactly.
clicks in your
Yes.
brain. And
Yes.
I think that is a bridge to between, and I think that when she started breaking and showing her weakness,
Mm.
helped our relationship. So
Yeah.
after that, we almost ended up more like friends and sisters because of still having the respect, obviously, because she's my mom, but there was a different atmosphere because now I can relate to her. She's not just the
Mm.
superhuman being that can do anything. She has moments, which also
Yes.
allowed me as a child to have a moment and not be as strong as I thought everyone thought I had to be,
To be
and keep it
exactly.
together. Yeah, and keep it
Yes.
together because if it's okay with mom to have it, it's okay for me to have it.
Yes. To
So
have an off
yeah,
day. Mm.
yeah,
And that,
it really, they say a lot like kids learn from not what you say but what you do, and it does do that.
yes.
So oftentimes
Yes.
also think as women there's that misconnect because we want to keep them from a lot of things, and then they end up just thinking, no, but you can handle more and you can handle more, and not knowing the story behind everything.
On that point, on that very point, that is the one thing which our journey has shown us is that, and look, it's normal for us as parents to want to
Mm.
shield our children as far as possible. You only want good things to happen to them and for them and in this place. And they both mustn't be wrong. They must have this,
Yeah.
everything must be well, must just be right for them, the right circumstances. And yet this happened, which of course nobody foresaw. Nobody knew that this was on the cards for us.
Mm.
And when it did happen, especially after I got home, after my time in at the rehabilitation center,
Mm.
and now I've got a shot back into my life, and the struggle that brings with it.
Yeah.
And there were days, there were nights when I used to lie, or like during the day when I had help, when I was full, and I'm by myself. And I used to chunk, not cry. I used to chunk in front of God. And I used to say, how could you do this to us? You've given us these five sons.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens? And they're so young. And,
Mm.
and, and then how they got to deal with all of this? How could you do this? This doesn't add up. And as parents, we automatically want to shield our children. We want to wrap them in cotton wool, and until they adults, and others would not weggaan, you know.
Mm.
And what I've come to realize, and what I even tell our friends and people, even when I do my talks, I
Mm.
tell people this is that yes, we would like to shield our children as much as possible. That's a normal thing
Mm.
as parents and what we want to do.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid for them to have hardships because it makes something of them.
Yeah.
Our sons are all grown up now. Our eldest one is 30. Our twins are 24. They are grown men. And I'm telling you, though I wrote something one day and I said that I wrote, in the article that I wrote, I said that I was fearing what this would write on their person. What's it gonna write on their being, you
Mm-hmm.
know, this whole upheaval in their life, having to deal now with a mother in a wheelchair, etc.,
Mm.
etc., all that comes with it. I was afraid what it would write on their person. I now get to see what is written, and I like what I see because it made them the men that they are today.
Sure. That's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that was deep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we oftentimes very afraid to do anything with our kids because we weirdly enough the talks that we had with these youngsters today. So we were chatting and they were talking about their parents and all of these things, and it came a lot about, ma'am, almost like if I could talk to their parents, it would be to stop being so hard on them
Mm,
because all the pressures that they are feeling is making that they can't really find any direction in life because they need to be good in
absolutely.
school. They need
Yes.
to be the best daughter. They're not supposed to have a boyfriend.
Mm,
This and that is
mm,
making that there's so much noise in their head that they actually don't know who they are anymore because
yes.
everyone is expecting them to be the best.
Mm,
And so they are so used. And I'm like, when I tell them, but when I met you, you look so like bright and fluffy and all of these things. I just want to be you. And they would like be
mm,
like, Miss, if you only know. And then some of
mm,
them shared a lot of things with me. And so now what you were saying, it just clicked how this morning was with them. And now what you just said. I would really appreciate it or would love it if you would send us that and we put it on our page because I mean that is oh, it's
Okay.
it's it's making me think about my journey with my kids. You know, you always
Yes.
want to learn from someone else and
Mm.
adapt, not for people out there, but like for yourself.
Yes.
So it's like
Mm.
dealing with me. How how was did you think now after almost 16 years? You said
Mm.
being differently able. That was the word you said. Differently
Mm.
able. Did you think is the vision that you had when you went through this accident is it different to how the reality is now?
Where do I start? I can write a book about it, and I actually am writing a book about it
Okay.
because the accident changed me as a person
Hmm.
in a way that I never expected.
Okay.
I have grown as a person over these last 16 years like at no other time in my entire 57 years on this planet. These last 16 years of my 57 years here has just been something else. It's grown. First of all, I discovered abilities I didn't know I had. All the years I was a stay-at-home mother, I was a housewife, I was a stay-at-home mother, and that's the way I saw myself. And I was okay. I mean, I loved it. I loved being at home with my boy. Being available, and so I love that part. But I had this small vision of myself that this is it, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with this that I am. But I thought that's it. Full stop. Because it tastes blame ma, punt, full stop. And then this happened. And first of all, people want to hear my story. They want to hear my testimony. We were in
Yeah.
the church and we told people, so people wanted to hear my testimony. And I started being invited to come and share my testimony first at our church and then at other churches and so on. And then the schools asked me to come and speak, when they have a program or something. And then women started inviting me out to come and speak. And I'm on the stage, and the next thing I'm on a stage with a mic in my hand, and I'm doing my thing. And all those people get a good feedback. People would come to me and say, "Oh my word, you're such a good speaker." And I was like, okay, that's something I didn't know. My point is, I am a public speaker now. I mean, obviously, I'm way better at it. I've honed my skill, the
Yeah.
skill that I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
So I'm now a public speaker.
Yeah.
Another thing that I discovered about myself is that I'm a writer. I didn't know I could write. I mean, I've always had a good vocabulary because I've always been a reader. But
Yeah.
writing is something I never attempted because it's just, it didn't come into my mind. And even when
Yeah.
I did think about it, I didn't ever think that I'd be able to do it.
Yeah.
Then I started writing down, my experiences as a wheelchair user, and the thoughts going through my head. I got onto Facebook and I started posting about certain aspects of my journey. And people used to respond to it and say, "Oh, you got away with words." And I was like, okay. My point is, these are only two abilities which I discovered on this journey. Something I did not know I possessed. A public speaking ability and a writing ability. I'm busy writing my book at the moment too. And writing is just it's always, I've now realized it's always been there, but this journey brought it to the surface. Because I now find that I can sit down, an idea can pop into my head, and I'll start writing, and it just flows. flows, it flows.
Mm.
Something I did not know about myself. My point is that this differently able journey changed me as a person like nothing else could. That is why I now know that this was a divine appointment that day on the 21st of August 2005. My being on that bus was a divine appointment because my life was going to change. Yes, obviously, I was going to come back in a wheelchair, but it was going to change in a lot more positive ways than I thought in the beginning.
So would it be safe to say you're not angry at God anymore?
Not at all. I call this now a gift to my life. It sounds a bit extreme, maybe for some people to understand how one can say that.
Mm.
But for me, it was a new chapter of my life starting,
Mm.
a whole new chapter. It's an exciting chapter which started. Although that doesn't mean that it's all plain sailing. I
Mm.
mean, I still have my off days. I still have to struggle with a lot that comes with disability.
Mm.
That's par for the course. So yes, it doesn't just make it all rosy and great. I'm still dealing with all that comes with disability, but it's taken my life to a whole new level, and that's what's exciting.
Can I ask, just as we're busy ending off, just something separate that we haven't spoken about yet? Normally, when we see I must stop saying disabled because you correctified me, differently abled
Definitely
person,
able. Yes.
differently abled, ek ga dit nooit vergeet nie, differently abled person, we often tend to either almost like pity them, like, oh, shame, go in front of me, and like you kind of just want to help and all of these things.
Mhm.
Um, I feel in that way you almost, because you do not know how to treat them,
Mhm.
you almost, in a way, like you would do for a small child, like they can't help themselves, let me do it for them. How do
Mm.
you, what do we do as a community? What is the right thing to do for a differently abled person?
Excellent question. For those who are on Facebook with me, I normally, well, now and again, then I write about how a differently able person wants to be treated by the able-bodied community. But let me tell you that, first of all, it's totally okay to help. It's okay to offer help, but it's often in the way that you offer help. Because often the able-bodied community thinks that we are totally incapable. We just we can't do anything for ourselves, and that is where our community often feels gets a bit annoyed because it can let them eat some myself. So, but how does one deal with that is the best way to do it is to don't just rush in and want to help. Ask the question, how may I help you? Or how can I be of help?
Okay.
And then that person will tell you. Sometimes one does find differently able people who are fiercely independent, and then they don't want help. And
Mm.
then that's what that person is. So don't
Mm.
take offense. That's just it.
Mm.
And then there are those of us who will say, yes, can you do this or do that, and but the important thing here is that ask the person, how may I help? Don't just rush in and want to do anything for them. Because often, um, you may not even touching a differently able
Mm.
person. Don't just want to pick them up or do something. Because you might even hurt them, or you might damage
People do that?
something. People do that sometimes too. Sometimes I
Well,
have to stop them and say, no, just sorry, just hold on. Rather take my arm, but I want to. Allow that person to show you how to help things. Don't just
Okay.
it's not fucking,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah. Boundaries. Boundaries. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that is why the correct way would be is to ask, how may I help you?
How may I help you? How may
Mm,
I help you? That's good to know. Yeah.
mm.
Okay. It's always been a question on my mind to ask, and now I have someone to ask it to, so I'm gonna ask.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
I'm definitely gonna ask. We have two comments that says, "Good evening, woman of God." James says that, and then Lynette, I'm pronouncing your name correctly, is saying, "Thank you for sharing your journey, Yolanda." What a testimony. Okay, so we're still in Women's Month. What does it mean for you to be a woman in this day and age?
I think we are living in very exciting times, because the woman's voice is becoming heard. First of all, it's becoming louder, it's becoming stronger, and we are being heard. So I think we're living in very, very exciting times. Yes, of course, there's still a way to go. There are still people who have to be dragging and screaming into the new era. Um, and also, there are also women who still have to find their voice. You still have to realize that you have rights. You have, you have a voice, basically. That will come as as time goes on. But I think we're living in very exciting times where the awareness has been raised. Of course, the big, the big disappointment in all of this is that gender-based violence is still very much, it's an issue, and it's still happening. So yes, that's a very sad part of the equation. But generally speaking, I feel that women are living in a very exciting era where women's voices, our voices be raised and our voices be heard. And you know what I feel? Like, the important thing is for us to find our own voice. You know,
Yeah.
yes, obviously we need awareness out there. That men need to know that that gender-based violence is not okay. Violence of any kind against a woman is not okay, definitely. But I feel that as women, we have to find our own voice. I speak from experience. I'm now at a whole different stage in my life as a woman. Now I feel more assertive, I feel stronger, I feel more brave, more able to say things that I didn't want to say in the past. So mm, because this happened to me, I found my voice. And so I feel that as women should be our main aim is to find our own voice. And when you have find your own voice, speak it. Speak your truth. Speak what is true for you. Speak what is on your heart, what is inside of you. But the main thing is find your voice and speak it.
This might be a question that might might get into trouble. With all the women that we've been talking about for the month of August, we got the same message. Women need to find their voice. Woman has
Mm.
a voice. Use your voice.
Yes, yes.
Um, 2 nights ago, we got a song from someone that says "Power" from Amanda. I must just get the surname. And in the lyrics, it says "There's power in your veins," which means there's a lot going on inside of you.
Absolutely.
My my question is, what I also found is that with a lot of stories, the people that has found their voices is people that has come through extreme circumstances to find their
Mm.
voice.
Yes.
Does that mean, as women, the only time we're gonna find our voice is when we have gone through something extreme?
It should not be that way. Women should be able to find their voice just fine. In fact, I feel that one of the big things of women is that We don't know who we are inside. You don't know who you truly are. And so that's why you bow and, you play the small role.
Mm,
So a big part of finding your voice is knowing who you are, being who you are, and then speaking your truth. As I said,
mm,
finding your voice. In my case, um, I found myself and I found my voice through, what had happened to me.
mm,
And also the good thing about my situation is that my husband watched me going through these changes, of becoming the stronger person and finding this voice. And he made room for it. Because in our relationship, he had his voice all the years. I mean, I met him as one of the things that attracted me to him was the fact that he had a strong sense of self.
mm,
And because I didn't have a strong sense of self, I was in awe of this guy. He just knew who he was from the time that I met him. That was the thing that attracted me to him.
mm,
So, so he watched me, going through these changes, and he applauded me. He made room for it. And he said, "Okay, yes, come on board, Baba, Um, but my point is that
mm,
I just feel because of the trauma that I went through, with the accident and having to deal with all that comes, with disability and
mm,
the deep depression that I went through, etc., etc., etc. So yes, I found that was a vehicle for me to find my voice. And
mm,
somehow I've found that women who find their voice because they've gone through something in life, they
mm,
really come with Duma. When they do find their voice, they show up front and
yeah,
center. But you don't have to go through that.
mm,
Everybody has their own journey. And so just journey your journey. Your journey doesn't have to be a dramatic one, the way mine was to find the
mm,
voice. Your journey can just be a quiet one that you just grow quietly, quietly, quietly until you can stand in your own power, in your first your divinely embedded power within you. But everybody has their own journey. And some of us have dramatic journeys and some of us don't.
yeah. Yeah, I do hear you, and I do understand you. I also think there is, and also a topic that has been coming up for a while with some of the women that we have been interviewing. It's like I said, 2 nights ago, or 3 nights ago, we were supposed to talk about plus size models. We actually ended up talking about rape, and
Mm,
it wasn't the rapes that we normally hear about in media. So it wasn't the ones that was bloody and clothes were torn and someone was dead and all of these things, which the topic then changed to a lot. That person didn't even almost know that she was being raped or
mm,
was raped because
mm.
of the subtlety or the
Yes.
yeah that came with it. Um, when we spoke about depression, it's again, when we hear about depression, we hear about the bipolar, we hear about all of these severe things,
Mm,
which when the
mm.
subtleness of everything happens, we don't know that we've been going through
Yes,
it. And so I
absolutely.
almost feel we must almost then change the narrative that when and that is what I kind of also like from what we did the interviews with. It wasn't women that was out there and doing it and being on stage for years, being celebrated
Mm,
for their voice. It was
mm,
in the subtleness of Yulanda's and everyone else that came before you doing the interviews. And we
mm,
praise them for that. So maybe we
mm.
should continue in doing that so that people can know there is a place for everything, so that it doesn't feel like you only find your voice when you have been in an accident and you now were differently abled. You have been
Absolutely.
raped and now you have a voice.
Mm. Yes.
It must be in the subtleness of I'm a stay-at-home mom. I look after my kids every day. They are doing well. I
Mm.
should be applauded for that.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you. In fact, you know that on my Facebook page, I write a lot and make a lot of references to that very thing. That finding your voice is discovering who you are as a person deep within. In fact, the way I always write it is that we are often blissfully unaware of what happened in the 9 months that we spent in our mother's womb. That creative process, I mean, God takes 9 long months to create a human being. Why? 9 months is a long time. It's for a year, almost a year. And in that time, He is busy with the finest details of how you are put together as a person. And we don't fully grasp it. Obviously, we can't wrapping our heads around that. That's a whole different story. But just getting to that point of knowing what God did when He was busy creating you in the 9 months in your mother's womb, and how you arrived there with whatever you needed already, your gifts, your talents, your abilities, the kind of person that you are, already embedded in you. It's already there, it's present in you. And how many of us don't even get to a point of fully understanding that and of fully finding out all that we are. The way I put it is that you should step fully into yourself and occupy all of who you are instead of merely parts of who you are. We should pay God the utmost compliment by being who He intended for us to be. Fully who you are intended to be, divinely intended to be.
Yeah,
And that doesn't
yeah.
mean that doesn't mean something has to happen, something drastic has to happen for that to happen. For
Mm,
some of us, something has to happen. Like in my case, it took for me to be put down in a wheelchair.
mm,
I say it put down for me, it took for me to be put down in a wheelchair in order to stand up to who I am, who God had created me to be. But that
mm,
is my journey. There
mm,
doesn't have to be something dramatic to happen to you for you to come to that, to do that journey where you discover who you are and where you find your voice, and you find your power. It doesn't have to be something dramatic doesn't have to accompany that.
yeah, it is very true, yeah. And yeah, I also feel as those who have found a voice, because I also think there's a big thing, and even working with the kids, either the kid has been very bad and now doing good, and so
Mm,
we applaud them, or
mm,
they've been the kid that has been excelling for years and we applaud
mm,
them, but we
mm.
often forget the middle the middle part. And we now talk
Yes.
Gatsby because I know you are from Mitchell's Plain. I'll play you know if he's on the end. Money. A Gatsby. A Gatsby. Yes, the ends are nice, but it's always the middle piece that's the best. And we
Yes.
oftentimes in life it's opposite. It's like the
Mm,
meteor side we prefer at the end and not we
mm,
forget about the middle.
mm,
And so as a
mm,
society we need to try and rectify that a bit because
mm,
we're losing out a lot on our youth because they're looking at us as so they're always looking towards even the either the person that has been doing great and people are putting them up on a pedestal because they have the car and the house and the whatever,
mm,
or they go the opposite side, which is those kids get more attention because they are always not they are naughty, their actions are naughty.
mm,
So it's like I need to be either side. If I'm in the middle,
mm.
no one is gonna see me. And so maybe in that I've learned through all these interviews that maybe that is where we need to work on a little bit more.
I totally I agree with you. Spot
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything you wanna, as we end off, leave us with a statement? You can choose for women, you can choose for everyone.
I'm going to leave with a statement. Whatever happens in your life are often life defining moments, but it doesn't have to define who you are. You are not defined by what happened to you,
Mm,
the external. You are defined from the inside out.
mm,
And so you get to decide how that incident or occurrence or event or whatever it is, or the number of things that have happened, you get to decide how it defines you. Because only you hold the definition of you. That's the thing which I learned on my path,
mm.
that this was a life altering moment here and a life defining moment. But I got to decide how it defines me.
Fine, me. So true. Yeah. Yeah. That is, yeah. That, and on that note, um, I've been encouraged yet again tonight. And I want to thank Yulanda for her time, um, for allowing us in just like a snapshot view of your life.
Mm,
It has certainly taught us a lot how to deal with differently abled people, how, and also just the journey that you guys have to go on to find
mm,
yourself again.
mm.
Um, so, yeah, a lot of things have opened for me. Um, and again, I want to applaud you for taking out the time. I mean, it's 9 o'clock. Miskien al geslaap het al, but taking out the time to journey, to be with us tonight.
Mm.
Um, is there, if there is any person that has a friend or anyone else that is differently abled and they might be struggling to find assistance or just motivation or anything else, are you open to being or discussing things with him?
Yes, absolutely. You
Okay.
can, well, anybody who wants to contact me can do so via you, actually.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put on your Facebook page if
Mm.
you ever are looking for someone as a motivational speaker. You heard she's a
Mm.
motivational speaker. She's also y- y- the book is not done yet, so we're still waiting for the book.
Yes.
And then if ever you also just want to find some oomph during the day, I am on a page and there is a lot of pearls of wisdom that you just drops out during the day that you can collect and start making your own pearls for your neck or hands or
Mm.
whatever you feel you want to do, to beautify yourself throughout the day. A page is lovely filled with those kind of inspirations. So there is a page you can contact her, and she will obviously guide you a bit more through handling a differently able person, but also just I think most times it comes with you want to be a friend of that person or and you don't know how to deal,
Okay.
and
Mm.
so you would be a nice reference point for that. So we are saying good night. As we will not be on tomorrow, we're taking a small break. We will be back on Monday, and we will be talking about organizations, or women in organizations. That is our topic that we'll be talking about on Monday. So Monday at 8 we will be back, and we're ending off our month of Women's Month, talking to differently or women in different phases in their life, and we're just
Mm.
discussing their journeys. So again, we want to say thank you for joining us tonight. We want to say thank you for the viewers that have been joining us tonight. We hope you have been inspired. I was thoroughly inspired. I would like that quote that you said about your children, about writing on them. If you don't mind, you send it to us,
Okay.
and then we will post it on our page. But again, thank you for your time, and thank you for I think thank you for taking the journey. Thank you for
Mm.
taking the journey, and in the process, teaching us and equipping us and giving us that little banalix around the way to carry us through the next 5 kilometers.
Yeah.
So thank you
I
for
want
that.
to thank I want to thank you for this opportunity of sharing my story and the lessons learned, and what it's made of me as a person. Thank you very, very much for
It's a pleasure. So we want to
that.
say good night. Keep warm,
Yeah.
keep safe,
Yes.
keep
Yes.
sane, and
Yes.
please, yeah, protect yourself. And also take a bit of a breather. Also, it is weekend.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so good night, everyone. Bye.
Okay. Good night. Good night, everybody.